If you talk to any stringer out there about the least fun parts of their job, I guarantee you there's always one thing that ends up in the top 3 at least. It's grommets and how to change them. And to make that part a bit less of a nuisance in the future, hopefully, I decided to make this little video and to give you first of all an overview about what's the role of a grommet on a racket, why is it important, especially for the durability and the quality of a string job. Second part then will be to give you a short overview also about the different types of grommets that are on the market that are used in modern day badminton rackets. And the third part will be then to give you a step-by-step guide how to first of all identify grommets that need replacement, and then the different steps how to replace a grommet and to get a new one in, which then works fine in the final result. In that part I will also show you different tools that are existing to make the job easier, going from really cheap to quite expensive. I hope you will enjoy it and you will be less annoyed by grommets in the future after watching this. First question, what's the purpose of a grommet and why are they even there? The answer is rather simple. Their only job is to make sure that the string does not get into any direct contact with the frame of the racket. Why is that necessary? Modern day badminton rackets are made from carbon fiber compound, basically all of them. And as soon as you drill through that kind of material, it forms very sharp edges on both sides of the hole. So that's why the grommets are there, to prevent or also to guide the string through the hole and through the whole frame of the racket. What happens if there is any contact or if the grommet is damaged, that there is a chance for the string and the frame to touch. It might cause early breakages of the whole string job. So the string will just snap earlier than it should. And normally this happens also in the area of the frame somewhere. So take the time to inspect the grommets properly. It just will lead to a longer lifetime of the whole string job and in the end to a better reputation for you. The second purpose of the grommet is basically the same thing, just vice versa. So it's also there to make sure that the frame doesn't get damaged by the string. Because the reason also is the same. You have a very sharp edge, and if you apply the load coming from the tension, if you apply the tension and the string is pressing on this sharp edge, so you have a very tiny surface where both are in touch, so it gets a huge pressure that the racket actually sees on that edge. What you get as a result is the so-called sinking holes or sinking grommets, like where you get those small dents on the exits of the grommets on the outside of the frame. Regularly changing grommets can help to reduce the risk of getting these sinking holes or sinking hole edges, but let's face it, if it happens, it's mostly a racket problem. It's not exclusively a grommet problem. So yes, it can help to reduce maybe the risk of getting sinking holes, but it's not a guarantee that you won't get it still in the end. So apart from the standard grommets that we all know, there are a number of special grommets that you can find on many modern day rackets. Many of them are sort of strips that cover a number of holes at a time and also form a bridge between the holes. Most famous example I think would be the Yonex Z-Force 2, which is on the market for many years now but still very successful, which has those strips in the 1 and 10 o'clock area and also at the bottom half of the racket. The plus of these grommet strips is that they are very robust and they give a very good protection for the frame underneath it, especially if someone uses high tensions in combination with thin strings. They can literally be a lifesaver for the racket. The downside, on the other hand, is that it might be very complicated to get them as a replacement if they just get damaged and you need to replace them. With Yonex, it's not that much of a problem. You can order those sets online at least, but with manufacturers especially that are not that widely known, it might be a real issue to get hold of these special grommets or these grommet strips. The first step in the process of changing grommets should always be a close inspection of the racket that you're dealing with. So take your time and have a close and detailed look at the state of the grommets and decide which ones are damaged, which ones need to be replaced, and which one can stay on the racket as it is. And while you're at it, also have a close look at the frame itself. Look for any cracks or damages on the frame, because those cracks and damages can also then cause you some real issues during the string job and might actually cause the racket to break on the machine. As an example, we will now have a closer look at this racket that I got. It's a fairly old racket, really heavily used and abused. It has still the factory string job on it, and maybe just listen to this. Yeah, what is it, like 10 pounds, 12 pounds, I don't know. But let's just have a closer look at the state of the grommets, and then we will just see what we can find there. Let's have a look at the state of the grommets. In general, we are looking for all spots where the string is likely to be damaged by either the frame, with direct contact with the frame, or by remaining parts or sharp edges that are created on the grommet itself. So also around, we're here at the 3 o'clock area of the racket, and we can see all sorts of damages on the grommets. This one where the sleeve is completely missing or broken away, like flush with the frame. We just go on, we see this one, this sleeve hanging loosely on the string still. These are the spots where normally those ringing sounds are coming from when a racket is played, and you hear with each hit like some sort of ringing. Now we just go on, we go towards the shared grommets now at the bottom. They are looking rather good actually on the inside, so the flare parts, they are all still intact and there's nothing missing, except for maybe that one where the knot is. There is a part on the other side which is a bit broken off, but that wouldn't be that much of an issue, to be honest. This is much worse here. Another sleeve which is broken off completely, and again all sorts of breakages and splits on the inner side of the grommets. So I would say we just go on by removing all the single part grommets and changing them, because basically those few that are still okay, they're just not worth keeping in. So we will change all the single parts grommets. Also, for the sake of demonstration, I will also change the shared grommets, because there are some special things to consider when you do that, and also to show you some of the tools that are especially made for changing and flaring the shared grommets here. Next up, I will just cut the string and remove the string, and then we go on with removing all the damaged grommets on this one. Apart from the obvious reasons that we've just seen to change grommets, there might also be 2 other situations in which it might make sense to change grommets too. One of them is if a racket comes back to you as a stringer more often than you would expect it to. So if there are rather unusual early breakages, and not just one, maybe like 2 in a row, and especially when the string bed, so if the string is still on the racket, you can check it, if the strings look like this when they're broken. So basically 2 halves are equally long, which then indicates that the string has snapped right at the area of the frame, so either somewhere in the grommet area or somewhere in the frame area. This might have 2 reasons. One could be just a bad and unlucky frame hit, so basically the shuttle was hit right on the string that was going from one hole to the other, and that might have caused the breakage. Another possibility could be that one of the grommets in question here might have a hidden damage somewhere on the inside. Maybe that fiber is sticking out somewhere from the plastic, and that eats through the string over a number of hits basically. So if that happens once, you can say, okay, maybe just note it down for that racket if you have some notes that you're taking. But if that racket gets back to you with the same with the same kind of breakage in another short period of time, it definitely makes sense to change the grommets as a safety measure, just to make sure that it's not the grommet who is causing these breakages. The second occasion where it makes sense also to change grommets, all the grommets on the racket regularly, are those rackets that see really high tensions, like 30 pounds and above, especially in combination with really thin strings like a gauge 0.61 from the Yonex Aerosonic or comparable strings, or the Aerobite, because this causes some very, very high stress on the racket, especially on the edges of the holes. So with changing grommets on those high tension rackets regularly, you have a good chance to enlarge the lifetime of a racket significantly, and also protect these weak and fragile areas where the string is going over the edges of the holes. Some stringers out there, instead of replacing the grommets, they prefer to rotate them, which might make sense if there is no damage on the inside of the grommet, but just some wear and tear on the outside, like you can see here, where those outer parts are almost pushed down completely to the frame. So you rotate basically the grommets for the string to touch a different spot on the grommet with the next string job. I found to be very useful doing that is to use a small screwdriver, just a slit screwdriver, like a 2.5mm wide screwdriver. And what you do, basically, you just put it in the grommet like this, and you simply rotate it around, even a bit more, like 90 degrees, so that the string with the next string job will touch a different spot than on the grommet. Personally, optic-wise, I don't like this option, like doing that, because in the end you need almost the same time than just changing it, and those grommets, sometimes they end up looking like dried plums in my opinion, which is not very nice and good looking, but it's a fair option, and there is nothing bad if there is no damage on the inside of the grommet. There are various techniques which can be used to remove the grommet easily. Some of them, however, rely on the inner part of the grommet being still intact. Like on this one, easiest thing to do is just to push against the part that is still on the inside, push out the grommet. There you can see it, it's sticking out now from the frame. You can grab it and just pull it out. This one, however, relies on the inner part being still intact, so on many occasions like this here, there is just nothing left that you can push against. So in that kind of situations, what always works is the so-called pull-out method. You take the racket, take the screw, you push the screw into the grommet, rotating it, so basically just screwing it into the grommet, and then just pull it out. As you see, really quick, really easy. Not much you can do wrong, just make sure not to scratch the frame at some point. And this also works for grommets that are completely cut or broken away flush with the frame, where there's nothing you can use to push against from the inside. Again, just screw it in, pull it out, and there you go. So the premium version of the simple wood screw would be this tool. So on the top part, on the tip, it has a thread, and there is a wooden handle attached to it. So the technique is basically the same. What you do, you use it, you push it on the grommet, turn it around until it gets screwed into the grommet, and then you just pull out the grommet with it. Again, remove it, go on with the next one. As you can see, it's going really quickly without any issues at all. Another possibility regarding tools would be one of those grommet removal clamps that are available. What they do, basically, they have this pin on the inside that is placed directly on the grommet. Then you close it, and with that pin the grommet gets pushed out of the hole. Let's just demonstrate it. So you take one of those grommets in there, apply the pin right on it, carefully close it. You heard like a click or a ping, and there you see that this grommet is now sticking out of the frame, so you can easily grab it and just pull it out. Another one right next to it. Let's take this one on the grommet, click, and there you see it's come out, and you can just remove it. Very quick, very convenient, but to be honest, I'm not the biggest friend of this tool, because as you can see here, it has already caused a minor, like a scratch, nothing bad. So you have to be careful with the tip that it's placed correctly on the grommet, and when you close it, that it doesn't damage the frame here. However, pulling out shared grommets can be a bit of a pain, because as you can see, they have those flared parts on the inside, those trumpet-shaped parts, which if you want to pull it out simply from the outside, they will really prevent the grommet from coming out completely. But there is a simple trick that you can do to make this also very easy. You simply have to cut away these inner parts of the grommet. And how do you do it? You use a cutter knife like this. Of course, be careful with it that you're not cutting yourself, so always try to cut away from you, and then you simply try to, you simply just cut away the inner part of the grommet that is there, flush with the frame, so if you pull it out now, there will be no more resistance coming from this part. So let's just check it out. It's this part, this grommet. We screw in the tool and we just pull it out like this, and as easy as it gets. As you can see, I've now removed all the grommets from the rackets, so it's completely clean again. Took me like 4 to 5 minutes maximum, just using the techniques that I've just shown you. Now it's time to get the new grommets in. Speaking of new grommets, how can you get them? The replacement ones. So you can either buy them in these boxes. There are a lot of offers around on the big online shops. They consist of many different sizes, different lengths, and also different diameters for the single pass and the shared grommets. And what's very convenient, they also come with these U-shaped grommets that many rackets are using around the throat area. So basically with one of these sets you're good to go from, I would say, most rackets that you can find. Bit careful though, the quality normally for these cheap sets is not the best regarding the material, so they're rather soft and tend to notch really deeply if you apply high tensions, especially with thin strings. Another option would be if you just go for 2 different sizes of generic grommets that you also can find on a lot of the big shops. Just take care that you get the longest ones. The diameter normally for single pass grommets is like 2.1 millimeters, and just look for the longest ones you can find. If you go for the shared grommets, the standard size in diameter is 2.6 millimeter. Maybe a recommendation from my side, there's a great set in my opinion that is offered by Li Ning. Good quality, also with rather big heads and sturdy material. They consist of 2 sizes, 2.1 millimeter, 2.6, really long ones, so also with that you're practically good to go. Just need to be aware of that you have to cut them to the right length once you put them in the racket. And that's actually also the version we are using on this particular racket. So what we do is that we just go around the racket and fill in the gaps. We have the shared grommets, the single ones, and we just put in whatever is needed. However, let's start also with the throat area. We just use the U-shaped grommets from the other box, the more narrow ones right at the throat, right at the T. And there you go. And don't worry if there is a slight gap that is remaining between the frame and the grommets. Once you push them in, that gap will be closed once the tension is applied then with the string. And now let's just go on, take one direction and just go around the head and fill the holes with grommets. So, and here we go. That is the last grommet, but as you can see, they don't look that nice, so I wouldn't recommend to string it that way. So, next step, we will be trimming these grommets to the correct length. To trim the grommets to the optimal length, so I would recommend is always like 2 millimeters from the frame. So either you can just go in one by one, use a normal cutter, normal pliers, and just trim each one of them to the correct lengths. What comes in handy, what I figured, are pliers, hope you can see it, who are not cutting completely flush with the frame, who create a certain gap to the surface that they're pushed against. So there you can see between, yeah, there you can see it. What happens if you use one of those and then simply put it directly against the frame, flush, hold it, let's do it like this, I can see it. Also hold the other end of the grommet with the finger and just cut it away, and now you can see that the length that stays is pretty much perfect, I would say. And that's also working on the shared grommets. Just use the plier, push it against the frame, cut, and what's left over is a length that looks really nice and ensures that there is still enough of the grommet left to protect the string. And now we just go all around the racket and cut the grommets to the correct length. I have now trimmed all the grommets to the correct length. As you can see, it's looking nice and clean again. So the only thing that is missing before we can actually get the racket on the stringing machine again is that we will try to recreate those trumpet shapes on the inside of the shared grommets. That's so-called flaring of the shared grommets. And that's what we will be doing next. And again, there are several tools available to actually do this flaring. And the cheapest solution that I know, at least, is this little thing here. It's a so-called center punch tool, which you can find in all hardware stores for like $4 to $5, I don't know, somewhere in that region, so really cheap and easy to get. So what you do is basically you take a lighter and you heat the tip. And now it's a bit of a game that you're playing, because you need to find the sweet spot for the temperature so that the grommet, the nylon of the grommet, it doesn't melt, but it's getting softer so that it's easier to form that shape. I'd say normally like 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds in the beginning, that it has around the correct temperature. And then what you do is you take the tool, you take the racket, and you take the grommet that you want to flare, push it against a tight firm surface, and then you just shove in the heated tool from the inside and just wiggle around a bit. And that's what creates the shape that we were looking for. The next option for around, like, I don't know, $12 to $15 to $20, somewhere in that region, are so-called cold press pliers, which you can find in several online stores, online shops. And you can see how they're constructed basically. So you have these inserts which are there to form the trumpet shape once the plier is closed. So what you're doing is you take the grommet that you're looking for, fix it on the outside, make sure to have the inside part sitting tightly inside the grommet, and then you simply close and press the pliers. And that's again what forms the nice shape on the inside. So again, we take the one which is next to it, make sure to hold it on the outside, push it in, close the pliers,
And again we have formed and flared the next grommet. So as you can see, this is a really quick solution, and that's also my favorite tool that I'm using because it's fair in price and just really quick. And also there is no heat involved, which I think is a good thing. And the final option that I want to show you is the premium one, which is a separate tool which is really created only for doing this kind of stuff. Also with the insert to create the shape of the grommet, like same on the pliers before, but as you can see there is a power cord attached to it, so it's actually heated. So the brass part over here on top of it, that's heated to around 160 degrees centigrade, so to have the correct temperature to make the grommets soft but not to melt them. So let's just see how this works. Basically it works in the same way as the one before. You hold the grommet from the outside, so insert it from the inside, and then you just close it. And then open it up again, and it's looking, of course it's looking really nice. And also you can feel once you're closing the pliers how the grommet gets soft from the heat of the tip, of course. Let's just do another one for demonstration. Here we go. Just fix it on the outside, insert it on the inside, close, open it up again, and there you go. So this one, of course, a very good tool, but for, I don't know, like around 50 to 60 US dollar, it's also a rather expensive one. So if you're really doing a lot of rackets, or if you just want to have the best solution available, in my opinion, then just go for that one. Pretty sure you won't be disappointed with the performance. One downside of it, which I just have to mention, there is no indicator or LED or whatever on the tool somewhere which shows you that it's actually powered. So it's a bit of a danger, in my opinion, that you just have it lying around somewhere and forget to unplug it, and it will just stay on and stay heated without you actually have any kind of chance to see it. So maybe that's a thing to consider if you want to get that tool. Be careful with it.
Once you're done with flaring all the grommets, the racket is ready to go on the stringing machine again. A word of advice though, if you've noticed during replacement of the grommets that the single pass grommets especially were sitting a bit loosely inside the hole, make sure to hold them in place once the tension is applied through that hole. Because if you don't, the chances are that the grommet gets pulled out of the hole along with the string, and causing then the string to rub against the frame and to thereby damage the outer layer of the string. So this will be a wasted set of strings and you have to start all over again. So as you've seen, dealing with grommets and changing them is not rocket science. There are tools that can make the job easier, more efficient and faster, but bottom line is you don't really need them. So if you don't want to invest in some of these tools or one of these tools, there is always a cheap solution to get a good quality result also. What's important though is please do a pre-stringing inspection on all the rackets that get in your hands. Look for damaged grommets and just invest the time and change them. It's just a couple of seconds and you have changed it, and on the long run it will simply result in a better durability of your string jobs. Also, if you're dealing with rackets that see tensions from like 30 pounds and upwards, like the really high tension range, it definitely makes sense to think about changing the grommets, all of them regularly, simply to protect the frame or to make sure, or to, let's say, to reduce the risk of the frame being damaged from the high tension. And basically that's it from me in this clip. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, if you have any comments, remarks, questions, whatever, put them in the comment section. I will be happy to get back to you there and to answer you there. I will put all the links to the tools that I've shown you in the description of the video. Also, there will be a link to the corresponding discussion thread on the BadmintonCentral forum. We have many very experienced stringers there all over the world who will be happy to also answer any questions that there might still be. That's it from me. See you next time, and thanks for watching.